Hello. Do you want to know a secret? I wrote a book. Oh, of course, that's why you're here. The book launch. I almost forgot. What a journey this has been, and what Deb didn't say a moment ago when she was speaking was that the books actually arrived on Thursday afternoon. I was having pink fits. So you were very lucky to get your little goodie bags, and I sat up Thursday night and put them all together. Can't you hear, Barb? Something's not working with the mic, Chris.
Do you want to use that as well? Okay.
I thought they might fight with each other.
Yeah, that's okay. Let me put this on.
Needs to come forward a bit. Is that better?
Yes.
Where was I?
Doing the goodie bags.
Doing the goodie bags. Oh, doing the goodie bags after the books arrived. I was so excited. I nearly jumped through the phone at Deb. She only lives about 5 minutes drive away. I was in the car and ran there like a rat up a drain pipe. So I was super excited because I was not looking forward to standing up here today and saying, welcome to my book launch, but I haven't got a book. So here we are, and like Deb said, it's been a real journey. Now, words are so important. We hear the saying, sticks and stones can break your bones, but words will never hurt you. Now, it's very true that words won't break your bones, but they will affect or can affect you at a very deep level for a very long time if you allow it. If you don't know that, if you don't have the tools to be able to step out of that. And I take myself back to being a 4-year-old. On the front cover of the book, there's a little girl. That's 4-year-old me. On that day, I corrected my violent alcoholic father at a public function because he said something that wasn't true. And of course, I got a hiding. On that day, I made the decision that what I had to say wasn't important and that it wasn't safe to speak up. And I allowed that belief to sit with me for decades until I suddenly thought, I don't have to listen to their story. I can write my own story. And so I did. And so can you. So it took me along that journey, but you know, I had to go through so much. I've put myself through so much pain over so many years to get to the point where I'm at. And there were a couple of things I wanted to say. Some words I couldn't quite remember. The value of stories, and Julie was talking about that. The value of stories is that everyone loves a story, and I think most of us probably learnt to appreciate our stories on our mother's lap, because that's certainly where I learnt mine. And with stories, you quite often put yourself in the for instance while you're listening to it. So that makes it personal and it draws you in to the story that's being told. We all need to know that we matter, that we're valued, and that we can be understood for who we are. My birth name is Diana. And I didn't like it. I did not like my name. So my story, my life story, flows through 3 variations of that. Diana was the child that everything happened to. All the bad stuff happened to her. The violent alcoholic dad, the family abuse, pack rape as a 15-year-old, a pregnancy and a forced adoption. That did not leave me in a place where I had any self-confidence, any self-respect, or any self-worth. Is it any wonder that I didn't like that connotation that went with that name? So I dropped the A and popped on an E and became Diane. And as Diane, I'd gone nursing and I gained some confidence. Then I married a man that had 4 children, aged 10 to 16, and I was 24. And I thought, that's all right, I'll just run it like a hospital ward. How hard can it be? Exactly. Someone else has probably been there as well. And then the next year we had a son. But under that time, my husband was my late husband was very supportive. And we had a wonderful 31-year relationship. In that time, when I found out, of course, that I couldn't quite easily manage these 4 kids like I could manage a hospital ward, I joined Toastmasters. This quiet mouse of a woman crept into this room this night, and I can see Colin McFarlane laughing up the back, crept into this room hoping that nobody would see me. And the rest's history. 42 years later, I'm still there. So that Toastmasters gave me back that courage, it gave me the confidence. I stepped up into the life in the corporate sugar industry world. We led a great life and it was all very exciting. In 2002, Les left for the heavenly fields. I was devastated. My life just simply got wiped out. And I was still Diane. 12 months later, I weighed 51 kilos. I was like a matchstick with the wood scraped off it. And I was emotionally, physical and spiritually bankrupt. In that turnaround that happened very soon after that, I started to journal and to write. And in that process of writing, the first book evolved, because the book that I'm launching today is my 3rd book. But it's a bit of a stretch from a 5 to 7 minute speech to a book. At the stage that I was at when I started to do the serious writing, I was actually involved in national speakers. And Robin Henderson, who some of you may know, she took me under her wing and she helped me through that process the first time round. So in 2006, out it came. And I was still a fairly frightened woman because I'd lived in Nambour. I grew up in Nambour, moved off to Mackay when I got married, and we came back to Nambour when Les had cardiac issues. So there I was back in Nambour where the rape had occurred. So when this came out, I suddenly had the what ifs. Now I only knew one of the 3, but did it matter? It was still affecting me emotionally. So I still had a long way to go, although I didn't know it. But it was certainly a starting point and a stretching point for me to become Di. So over the next 10 years, I embarked on it's more than 10 years, it's 12 years, isn't it? I embarked on a huge self-development program of anything that came along, I was into it. Michael Rowland's, Wildly Wealthy Women, Wealth Dynamics, lots of things, lots of workshops. And everything took me to another level, to another stage. Just a second, we got someone outside? No?
Do you want me to go and check?
The ghosts of the library want to come in and have a listen too. How cheeky of them. I've lost my place again.
10 years, 12 years. Yeah.
10 years, 12 years. Oh, right. So along the huge self-development journey, I was off somewhere and I was preparing a little ad for my website. And the lady that was helping us, we were in a group, and she said to me, I had the book with me, and she said, why don't you republish? Oh, well, I hadn't actually thought about that. And she said, I can put you in touch with this editor. And I said, oh, that'd be good. And I assumed that she lived in southeast Queensland. And I'd spoken to her a few times and decided I was going to work with her when I suddenly said, you know, where exactly do you live? And she said, New York. So that changed things a little. Now that was quite a journey, and what I did was fill in and talked about things that had happened in the intervening 10 years, expanded on some things, and then Nick said to me, how do you feel about including some men's stories? Because things happen to men as well as to women. And I said, yes, I'm happy to do that. So Beyond Abuse 2, a recovery guide for men and women and an era of me and all of us too, has my updated story, 4 men's stories and 4 women's stories to balance it out. So it's a great resource book, and it's bringing to attention the fact that things happen to men. And I have men in my family that are deeply connected in this right now. Now, who is it? Who would be the one person whose phone would ring in a function? I hope that's embarrassment 101 going across there. Right. This is the afternoon for interruptions, isn't it? This book will always be extra, extra special to me because the day that the link went live on Amazon, a little light bulb went off in my head and I said, I'm ready. I'm ready to search for the child, there was actually 2 children, that I gave up for adoption in the 1960s. It took me 2 short months to find and meet my daughter. 2 months, and she lives in Toowong. Absolutely incredible, it was just meant to be. So that book will always be special from the point of view it was the impetus for me to step out. And there's been many instances like that in my life where something has triggered and I've stepped out. So that was a really huge one. And then I was quite happy to sort of sit with that until Deb and Trish said, we're going to have this author expo, why don't you come along? Why don't you be one of our speakers? And I said, oh yeah, that'd be good. And then I got there and Deb said, well, we're going to have a write a book club. Would you like to do that? I thought, oh, that'd be good. So I did. So then evolved book number 3. So book number 3, I've named it Speak Out, From Suppressed to Expressed in 9 Vital Steps to Know That Your Voice Matters. I've dedicated this book to my mother because my mum didn't have a voice. She lived a life of suppression, and if she were here today, what a difference and how proud she would be to see it. But it not only affects me, it affects many women. So many women out there have had their voice suppressed in one way or another. Either they've done it themselves or they've absorbed it from their surroundings. So, like Julie said, the book is a unique combination of storytelling, strategies and action steps so that you can take some exercises, have a whole toolbox of strategies ready, because the day that you have a bad day, the day that something happens, you can't possibly create and learn a strategy. You're not in that headspace. But if you build your toolbox when you're in quite a good place, then you've got that huge thing to draw on to be able to pull in. So I'm pretty excited. And for anyone who knows me, they're my colours, just like Peacock. Look at Peacock, isn't he cute? He had to come with me today. So some of the things that I wanted to mention out of the book. One of the things that happens when you're having a hard time, when you're severely challenged, is that you forget to have fun. You forget that you can have love, light and laughter in your life. Like after Les passed away, I thought I was being disrespectful to him if I went out and had a good time. How crazy is that? He's not here and he's not coming back. But it took me a while for that to sink in. So there's a chapter there filling out lots of little bits. Oh, that was a bit about the story, I've already told you that. There's a chapter on personal rituals to enrich your life. Because rituals are the formulas by which your harmony is restored. They cut through and act on everything that's head level, getting you out of your head down into your heart. It's a good sign to your unconscious that it's time to kick in and kick on. They entice the senses, ignite your passion, and open your heart in mysterious ways. You find comfort in them. They provide a framework for stability when you're trying to find answers, and that certainly applied to me. And your rituals, like your strategies, they change over time. You use the things that work for you at that time. There's a chapter on strength-based understanding of yourself. If you don't understand yourself, how can you possibly step forward and make any changes? If you don't acknowledge what's happened to you and say, it's time I made some changes, nothing's going to happen no matter what you do. So having that strength-based understanding, so there's a chapter around that. I'm big on journaling. And there's a chapter on transformational journaling. There's about, I don't know, probably 10 different types of journaling that you can try at one time. And something that really sticks out for me is a grandparent's love journal. Sadly, today, with more and more relationship breaking down, and grandparents are denied access to their grandchildren, it's a heartbreaking experience and one where you feel powerless. Creating a love journal for your grandchildren is a way of putting a positive spin on the situation, because you know that you're connecting with your grandchildren at some particular level. Create your book with dates, times, share how your life is and was, just like you're having a conversation with them. Add pictures of gifts you would have bought them, stories you would have shared, feathers, clippings, photographs of your life when they may have been in it, to show them what life was like when they last saw you. And I think that applies to a lot of people today, because it's a situation that's adding up because there's so many relationship breakdowns. Chapter 8 is around letting your voice be heard, about being prepped and ready. There's a lot of information in that. But what I'd like to read for you now is chapter 10. Your voice is a gift and a mirror for self-awareness. Imagine that you were given a gift so powerful that it could change your world and the world of those around you. Your voice and what you can do with it is your gift. Who you are is God's gift to you. Who you become is your gift to God. My gift to you is to show up with love, hope, and compassion. Love can take you to amazing places, even if you've lived a life of challenge. Because again, when you're in that challenge, you can't see beyond it. You come to understand that love, starting with self-love, really does conquer all. And that leads to greater confidence, because challenges and confidence fire you up to become extraordinary. And I know the people in this room, there's a lot of extraordinary people in this room who've been with me on my journey. Some of my Toastmaster friends I've known for 40 odd years. But no matter the depth, the length of the friendship, there's a lot of depth of friendship in this room. And I am truly grateful for that. So what is confidence? I consider it's an extraordinary energy in you that's attractive, strong, vibrant, and engaging. You know it when you see it, and you look and you say, I want some of what she's got. It's being completely comfortable in your own skin at all times, and having the ability to function and speak even under stressful situations. I was speaking this week when the books didn't arrive. Ask Deb. I probably didn't do it very nicely though. You know that confidence and resilience reign because you have survived to tell tales of your successes and your failures, your traumas and your abuse, and you're built to be able to go to the edge and come back with your voice, heart and soul elevated. In these pages, the secrets of the book have been revealed. There's been food for thought, signs for your soul, and lots of love lavished on you in ways to enhance you and your voice. So how can this help you? My aim is to create an experience to touch your soul and being reflected in you being able to speak your truth with grace and power. Today could be the starting point for someone in this room. You have had the opportunity to experience the processes throughout the book yourself, and maybe you've had aha moments. If there's still that niggling little imp in your head, let's recap on what that might be. Maybe when you first started to change, it had a limited effect. Maybe you even gave up for a while. Action step 101 is to choose change again and again until you get the outcome of knowing that your voice matters. Spend time with people who are positive, happy and speak well. Join groups that support the new you. They'll stretch you. One where you're encouraged to express your truth with grace and power. Make it fun. Mess up, fess up, dress up in life. Anything that makes you and your voice ring with joy and vitality. Words that convey how I want the reader to feel after reading the book are relief, freedom, knowing you're not alone, knowing you can give it a try, reassurance, safety, increased self-esteem, respect, integrity and kindness. Think on how this experience has given you a greater understanding of yourself. It's not about implementing every single exercise. Different exercises will work for you at different times. And like I mentioned before, it's about having that toolbox so that you can call on it when you need it. If you slip, stop, smile, and then consciously and mindfully work on points to get you back on track. It will give you a new and different awareness. Your learnings and sharing could help someone else. So let's create a voice image movement, one that inspires global change towards the power of our collective voices. Acknowledge that your voice matters and that how we perceive our voice and what we have to say is empowering, educating and inspiring other women to feel confident and valued. Let's adopt Brené Brown's words. You either walk inside your own story and own it, or you stand outside your story and hustle it. Let's look at the next generation, our daughters and our granddaughters. Let's teach them that their voice is a tool to be valued. What they have to say is important and that they need to be heard. We can teach them also to speak with grace and power, to create love, life and laughter in their voice. Teach them to leave the table when respect is no longer being served. Teach them to be silly, brave, strong, confident, authentic and real. Let's refine our voice and the voices around us for future generations. This isn't the end of the story, it's the end of the book. And it's the beginning of making changes in your world through the gift of your voice. And one sentence that my beautiful friend Denise Moser put in her book review. You may discover that your voice is the one voice that can deliver the message that is the one message one person needed to hear the most. There might be someone in this room this afternoon who needed to hear my message.
Wasn't that awesome? Mm-hmm. Absolutely awesome. Please give another.
Oh, I forgot about the slides. I've got a couple of slides. I've got one slide I really and truly want to show.
That's what I was going to interrupt you, but I thought, no, you
I forgot all about it. I got carried away. Flick onto the second slide for me.
Oh, I could do that.
Yeah, you do that for me.
I could do that for you.
I've spent a lot of time while I was doing my self-development work looking forward and looking back. The lady who took this photo was going to be here today, but she's unwell. And it shows perfectly the younger me looking out, timid, afraid, wondering what the hell's happening, to the mature woman on the other side. It's how I've chosen to live my life, to be that woman on the other side. And can we just flick through to the next one? And yesterday it came up, and a lot of people probably saw this, it was E.T., it's 37 years since they made the movie, and it was something about reconnecting over Christmas. And E.T. came back, for those who didn't see it. Elliot is now grown up and he's got his own little boy, so E.T. met the family. And then when he was leaving, I'm going to cry, when he was leaving, E.T. comes up to the little boy and says, even though I'm gone, a little bit of me will be here. So I hope that a little bit of me will be in your heart this afternoon. I really am finished now.